Hey guys, how you doing? So, um, if you're struggling with motivating yourself, then there's a couple of things that you need to understand, and that um, we're not the same in all situations. So, the way you are at work, the way you are socially, the way you are in your sporting group are all going to be a little bit different. The psychodynamics are going to change. And so, for example, something that you need to be aware of is you're moving towards and moving away from values, right? So, for example, I've spoken about this before, so apologies to people that have heard me say this before, but it's important. So, for example, which resonates with you more strongly, right? I want to go work out because I want to be fit and healthy, or which is a moving towards value, something that you want, something that's in the future, something that you want to chase, a goal that you want to achieve, or I don't want to die prematurely, I don't want disease, I don't want to lose my independence as I age, which is a moving away from value, right? So if you look at the negative of not doing the thing and that motivates you, then you have strong moving away from values, right? If the idea of performing better, being healthier, and seeing yourself in the future in a different light responds or resonates with you, then you're more strongly moving towards, right? So why does it matter? Well, because it's not always positive language. Everyone's always like, be positive, be positive, be positive. And it's not always the case. Because if I'm talking to somebody who has very strong moving away from values, yeah, who responds very well to the idea of avoiding sickness and avoiding ill health, and I'm using positive messages that are moving forwards, excuse me, it won't resonate with them as well. Yeah, it's almost better to scare them with where they could go, how early they could be in the grave, how sick they could get. Yeah, and that will be more motivating for that person. For the other person who is driven by goals, who likes to look forwards and move forwards, which is very much myself, then you use a different type of language, right? This is what we're going to achieve. Imagine this. This is where you could be in the future. So pay attention to how you think, yeah, and what works for you. Because even though you find the strength and motivation and willpower to go do something and do it well, doesn't mean that you were using positive messaging in order to motivate yourself to get there. So pay attention to your own internal dialogue and what works for you. Yeah. For me, I respond very well internally to very negative messaging, right? I guess it comes from a childhood of trauma and being put down a lot and then rebelling against my parents and all these sorts of things. I could go into it forever, but I know that works really well for me. So being a little negative and pushing myself, pushing those buttons that really irritate me, helps me perform better. I'll set my goals and know where they are, right? But it's more like the challenge of, for example, if I'm struggling to get out of the house and want to go run, maybe it's really hot, maybe I really don't feel like it, maybe I'm just feeling lazy. Then for me personally, subconsciously, I know I have a goal that, I want to achieve in the future. But what actually motivates me in the moment, yeah, is a negative thing. So, I would bring up feelings of like maybe I would envision something like being on the mat, being stuck under somebody, being very uncomfortable and telling myself a whole lot of negative things, which does work very well for me, right? So pay attention to that sort of stuff because it really matters. It's not always about being really positive and stuff like that. Like that, it sounds nice, and I'm sure that there's many influencers out there who You know, like that's their thing, is positivity, positivity. But, you know, and that sounds nice and probably makes them look really nice. But the reality is that doesn't work for everybody. Yeah. So understanding your own internal dialogue and what works for you and what motivates you, what gets you out of bed, what gets you going. Yeah. Like that's important, right? And that will change. Like sometimes when you're in your workspace, in your professional area, you're going to be one thing, like one of those two will resonate more with you in that environment. But then maybe in your personal life, in your relationships, or in your sport, then the opposite can be true, right? So pay attention to what works for you relative to the environment that you're in. It's very important. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. But think about that, you know, especially like when it comes to working out, like what motivates you more? The thought of being unhealthy and unfit, losing in a competition, being beaten by people on the mat, ill health, not being able to keep up, the wife's going to leave me for somebody fitter and healthier, like, you know, or does the idea of being fitter and healthier and things like this and having a picture of yourself with a six-pack or achieving the goals and winning things in the future, does that resonate with you more? Pay attention to it. Let me know what you think.